This week on Painted Plastic.
Hey everybody, Brandon here with some more Painted Plastic. Welcome to episode 6 of our RX-78-2. This is the 1/48 scale, mega size, as you can see by these giant feet. Yeah, so episode 6 we've started some weathering. Right off the bat, I'm going to say this will probably be a two-parter. Depending on how long the videos get, there's a lot of weathering to do. We're going to do a couple of different stages, so we'll probably break this up. There'll be like a 6.5 or something like that. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, started doing some chipping, right? Give you a little side by side there. Yeah, so did a little bit on the foot. Did a little bit on the leg, just so I could give you guys a comparison. Right, here's the opposite leg. Nothing's been done to it. So how do we do it? Well, I've got two colors here. I start with a neutral gray. In my mind, before everything was painted, like before this was painted red, it had been primed, and the primer was probably gray, right? So that's the way I think about it. So the first time around, we just hit gray wherever we think chips would be, right? Or scrapes or whatever, right? Let that set for half hour, 45 minutes, really however long, but at least a half hour. And then I go back with dark iron, which is it's sort of metallic, but it's only slightly metallic. It's really this kind of like browny gray. And I go, there's a good shot here on the foot if I stay on camera. I go just inside the gray. So the way I think about it is the red has peeled away to reveal the gray underneath, and then eventually the gray starts to peel away to reveal the metal underneath. So that's kind of the technique I use. Give me 1 second to just clear all this stuff out, and we'll start doing some of that. Be right back. Alright, let's do some chipping. Got our two colors, neutral gray and dark iron. Have a pot for cleaning brushes, a tiny little brush, I don't even know if you can see that, and of course off camera a paper towel just to dab off any excess. Yeah, so we're going to start with the gray. Like I said before, in my mind the parts would all be primed, before they're painted, and the primer would be gray, right? So you have to excuse this little thing. This is the wire. I just kind of taped it up to keep it out of the way. Yeah, so what I normally do is concentrate on like corners. This being the foot, it kind of seems like it would be more scuffed on the bottom, just from, being in contact with the ground all the time. So we're going to concentrate on some of the raised panels on the bottom, do a little bit around the side, but it's a really, really simple technique. Get a little paint, and then I just get a nice sharp point, just get all the excess off. And then, like I said, concentrating on corners, you're just going to dab, right? And the way to think about it is this is the red paint pulling away from the primer, right? So wherever you think a scrape, or you can even do a cut, just barely draw your brush, see, and you get a little scrape. Then you can put little dots around it to look like it's, the paint's peeling back more. But yeah, so that's basically the first step. And I'll do the corners pretty deep, to look like the paint's really peeling back. Just because I think that's where the most wear would be, right? This is not a hard technique, but the trick is to be random. you know, and to almost be kind of minimalist with it. You know, you don't want to overdo this. Just a few little specks here and there, you know, will be all you really need. You don't want to go overboard, and that's really my problem. Is I start having fun, you know. A little bit right there. But as you can see, guys, it's really pretty straightforward. Might be a little bit up here. Like I said before, the hard part is not overdoing it, because it does get fun. So yeah, about like that. There we go. Alright, so I'll let that set for, I don't know, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, something like that. Let it flash off real good. And we'll come back with the dark iron. Back in a minute. Alright, let's get started on the dark iron. All the gray should be good and dry by now. It's been 6 hours. Yeah, got pulled away from the bench. But anyway, time to get started on this part. Like I said in the earlier part, the dark iron, I'm going to concentrate within the gray. So it'll look like the gray has now started peeling, and you'll see the metal underneath. So let's give these a little bit of a shake. And again, just pull right out of the lid. I don't know if I mentioned this in the first segment, but if you can find a little crease in your glove, like there on my thumb, that's a good place to get a blob of paint, and you can use that to really draw your brush into a nice point. So I typically will aim for little grooves. But anyway, getting back to the foot. So what do I mean by within the gray? So like if it's coming away, here we'll just start right here at the top. It's coming away from all this, right? So in here, you would maybe see some of the metal showing through, right? But leaving a little almost halo of gray paint, right? Just to look like you can see metal, but there's still a fair bit of primer there, right? See, like right here, you would maybe see metal, but there would be a layer of primer. right? Something like that. And again, trying to be just completely random. You know, none of this would happen in any particular way. And I'm not necessarily going to hit every one. You know, some of the smaller spots, maybe the primer hasn't started pulling away yet. But yeah, so I'll give you an idea of what we're going to do. Alright, I'm going to speed it up a bit, get this knocked out so we can move on to the next part. Alright, so I think that's probably about all for the dark iron. Alright, just gives it a little extra, right? Alright, so the next step will be to gloss coat everything that has been chipped and get ready for the next stage, which will be an oil wash. And we'll go over that in just a bit. So I'm not going to show doing the gloss coat because I already covered that in the last video, so I'll leave a link up here somewhere for the gloss video. If you want to watch that, check it out. So I'm just going to move on to oils from here. Be right back. Okay, so all of our chipping is done, and it's time to start doing some oils. As you can see, I've done this one, right? Just a subtle kind of filter, right? This one hasn't been done. As you can see, I've got newspaper down. This is a very messy stage, so protect anything that you don't want destroyed. Yeah, so how do we do that? Pretty simple. I've got a bunch of oils, but the two I use most often are Payne's Gray and Burnt Sienna. And these are just your regular old artist paint. Like you go to the art supply store and get artist oils. Right. I've also got a black that I use. I'll mix them and match them, and for the whites, what I'll do is mix a 50-50 ratio, right? Equal parts of both colors. Mix it all up with a stirring rod, and then I let it sit. I mix it up on a piece of cardboard. So I let it sit for however long, right? A half hour, an hour, however long it takes. But the cardboard will draw out most of the oil, well, not most of the oil, but a lot of the oil. And these artist colors are really, really kind of wet colors, right? They have a lot of oil in them. So let them sit for a while. Once they're, the oil seeped out, you're good to go. I've actually got this one here, right? And you can still see the ring, right, where the oil has seeped out. So how do we do this wash? Also, the other thing you'll need, a soft towel. I just use like old t-shirts. I tear them up and use them as towels. And the other thing you might need, some Q-tips, right? So how do we do it? Well, I've got an old grubby brush, right? This is an old plastic brush. Get a blob of paint and just start going all over the piece. Really just spread it in everywhere, hit every surface. Obviously you don't have to be careful, don't have to be, precise at all. Just go to town. But yeah, just spread it all over the part. Yeah, so that's it. That's how you do it. So now I'm going to set this aside because I will put my hand down in it. I'll get my rag, and just as carefully as we put it on, we're just going to start wiping it away. So there we go. Now, there is a downside to this, of course. It takes forever for these oils to dry. So it will be a good, probably at least 4 days, maybe even more, if it's, thicker in some places. But that's okay, because we've got other things we can do in the meantime. And then when this is all dry and ready to go, it will get another gloss coat to seal this in, and then we'll move on to the next step. So that's going to do it for this episode. Be sure to tune in for the next one. Like I said, it'll probably be something a little bit different because we'll be waiting for this to dry. So thanks for hanging out with me, and we'll see you next time.